Building blocks in the Audible Genius Studio are now available on your phone. Compatible with both iPhone and Android, you get the full building blocks experience with all the lessons on the go. Now, this is a DAW. It's a piano roll, a note editor, and on a phone-sized screen, that can be kind of tough because as you can see, these notes become so tiny. And with a mouse, that wouldn't be a problem, but you have to use your finger. And it's so tedious to try to select all these little notes, move them around, get things exactly where you want to get them. So we spent some time, we put in some quick, easy, intuitive zoom and auto looping features that make it way more enjoyable. Let's start with zooming. So first off, what already exists in our desktop version as well is this track expansion button. So tap that, and that'll expand the track to the full vertical height. That takes care of the width of a note, which makes it much easier to select, but the notes are still very narrow on the width. Very tough to get that exact rhythmic point you want the note in. So we have introduced a new feature called beat zoom. Tap this, and these squares appear, each representing a beat. I can tap and drag these beats to zoom in there. So let's say I want to zoom into measure 2. I'll tap the first beat of measure 2, scan across, and now I'm in measure 2. Let's hit beat zoom again. Let's say I want to go into beats 3 and 4 of measure 1. I'm in there. Tap it again, and if I want to stay zoomed out, tap it one more time, and I'm zoomed out. This way you're zooming into rhythmic, exact rhythmic ranges, which is kind of how we think as we write music anyway, right? So it makes sense to zoom into a measure or specific beats, and it's quick and it's easy. You don't have to dial in the zoom you want. You could just tap, drag, and boom, you're there. Now, along with that beat zoom, you can also use pinch like you would with most, phone apps. So I can put 2 fingers down, and I can expand left or up and down, left or right, up or down. And then once I'm zoomed in, I could use 1 finger and just, pan around. So that gives you very, very, precise zooming that you want. But again, I encourage you, just use the beat zoom because again, it thinks in terms of rhythmic ranges. It's much faster. It's easier. So that tackles the first problem, making the notes big enough to manipulate. But there's a second problem. Let's say I am zoomed in to measure 2. Let's hit play. What happens? Jump back to measure 1. Okay, there's the area I was looking at. Okay, I'm stopped, but now I'm not in the area I was looking at again, so now I gotta rezoom back to there. That kind of thing gets very tedious. And in most cases, what you would do is simply just adjust your loop slider and then zoom in. Okay, great. Now it's gonna loop this area. But that kind of adjustment, while it may seem like such a small thing when you view me do it here just one time, every single time you want to zoom into a new area, that gets so tedious. It's those extra steps that make editing notes on the phone very, very tedious. So we are introducing this feature here, loop visible area during playback. This will be on by default for phone users. Now, let's say I'm out at the full view. Okay, that's a full loop. I zoom in to measure 2, hit play, and it automatically will loop this area now. Let's say I zoomed into beats 3 and 4, measure 1, hit play. Now it's zooming that area. That is the opposite of what you would want on desktop. You wouldn't want what you see and your loop to be automatically the same. But phone is different because you're being forced to zoom in. You're not zooming because you want to. You have to because the notes are just too small to handle. So I really encourage you to use this feature. If you don't like it, of course, you could just go into this menu here and disable it. But I'm telling you, this has made using, any note editor, a piano roll, but particularly building blocks, so much more fun. It removes that phone tedium. So I really encourage you to leave that feature on. On top of these UI features, we also did a lot of under the hood optimizations to make things run with less CPU and just to give you a real nice glitch-free experience. So enjoy building blocks in the Audible Genius Studio on your phone.